Good morning, everybody. We're very happy to have you with us here today for this event entitled Upscaling Internationalization of Curricula and Digitalization, organized by the EDUC European University Alliance. We're happy that you're interested in the activities carried out by European University Alliances. Before we proceed, we would like to have just a quick idea of who is present with us today. So maybe you have joined us because you work or study at a university that belongs to a European alliance, and you are interested in the activities carried out by other alliances. If that is the case, would you just give us a thumbs up? Okay, well, it's in the top. It's in the top on the corner. Yes, I see a hands up. All right. Yes, Carlota? No, sorry about that. Okay. Well, maybe you are just discovering what these alliances are, and you're here out of simple curiosity. So if that's your case, you can give us a thumbs up. And I'm not seeing them, but that's okay. Maybe you keep this to yourself if that's the case. And perhaps you are yourself exploring how to develop internationalized curricula at your institution, and you want to see how you can expand on what is currently done. In any case, the questions there we are going to cover today are, what is the internationalization of curriculum? How is it done? And how can impact be meaningful? To explore these questions, our program will guide us step by step. First, we'll look at the strategies, the tools, the people, and finally, the European policy perspective that frames it all. Our first session will look at the big picture, the strategy. The European Commission has set new ambitions to scale up internationalization, going beyond Erasmus mobilities, which are individual or joint programs, for example. In a sense, the European Alliance represents a third way of doing things. This includes approaches that are inclusive, accessible, green, and highly scalable. We'll hear from 3 different alliances: EDUC, Eurotech, and EUNUEL. They will share how they bring together physical, virtual, blended mobilities into curriculum internationalization. In our second session, we will look at the digital backbone that makes this strategy possible. Members of EDUC's Digital Campus Task Group will present 3 tools: our e-learning platform, EDUC Learning, which is hosted on Moodle, the online course catalog, which allows the general public to see our training offer, and the online collaboration platform Nextcloud. Together, these tools essentially create our digital campus, which enable cross-border collaboration, joint teaching, and wider access for students and personnel. Our third session will look at the people, staff training. Looking at the people who bring these strategies to life. We'll hear more particularly about the Good Practices Staff Week, a training initiative that equips teachers to design internationalized and online curricula. We'll also hear 2 testimonials from educators already putting these practices into action, describing where strategies meet the classroom reality. And then in our 4th session, we will hear more about the broader perspective. Agnieszka Jaśnicka from the European Commission's Directorate General for Education, Youth, Sport, and Culture will connect this work to the EU's higher education policy. But before we begin, we would like to invite some opening remarks from Danielle Hübner, the EU Project Officer of the EDUC Alliance, speaking on behalf of the European Education and Culture Executive Agency. Daniel, I will give you the floor.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Daniel Hübner. Indeed, Cynthia said, I'm the project officer responsible for the EDUC Alliance on behalf of EAKEA, that is, of course, the executive agency that's managing the European Universities Initiative in collaboration with what we call our parent DG from the European Commission. I'm very grateful to have been invited to participate in today's program with all of you, and also to be joined by my counterpart from DG ERC, Agnieszka Jaśnicka, who you will be hearing from a little bit later today. I think the topic of today's event is an extremely relevant one for multiple reasons, because on the one hand, of course, it speaks to an aspect that is at the very heart of the identity of EDUC, specifically as an alliance. But taking the agency perspective for a moment, it also speaks to many of the things that we at this present moment expect the European Universities Alliances to deliver on. And there are three things in particular that I want to highlight. So first of all, of course, one of the main concepts that's proposed by the European Universities Initiative is this idea of building an inter-university campus. And we generally qualify from the EU side what this vision contains by providing at least some of the main features that such a inter-university campus should provide. But there's still quite a bit of room for interpretation. And that is, on the one hand, of course, by design, because with the diversity of higher education institutions that we have in Europe, why should it be any different for European Universities Alliances? There's one-size-fits-all solutions are very difficult to come by. So this is really where we expect the alliances to step up with their innovative and systemic thinking to give concrete meaning to this vision of the inter-university campus. And secondly, then what this campus should allow you to pursue is really to trigger an unprecedented level of mobility within the universities that are part of your alliance. And of course, virtual mobility in particular has to be a part of that equation, but we see that it's not that easy in a post-pandemic environment where there seems to have been a little bit of a return towards more traditional physical mobility, particularly among students, and perhaps even a preference towards that kind of experience as well. And of course, that presents a set of challenges in terms of how you design your mobility opportunities that appeal to learners, but of course, teachers as well. And also how you integrate those mobility opportunities into your wider educational offers, both from a content related and then also from a technical standpoint. And the last point I want to highlight is that we expect all European Universities Alliances to also act as role models, not just by being excellent and by being innovative in your activities, but by actually having a concrete strategy to share the kinds of approaches and solutions that you develop within the wider European higher education landscape and with other actors who might learn from or benefit from the things that you've been working on. And of course, for that, we are looking particularly towards those alliances who were previously involved in the pilot phase of the European Universities Initiative and are currently within their second funding phase. It's nice to talk about mappings of things and strategies for the future, but really now is the time to be concrete and to showcase what you've been working on and to let other alliances and other universities and other stakeholders in on some of your main achievements to date. And so, especially with that last point in mind, the fact that you've assembled this program today and also directly involving some speakers and representatives from other European Universities Alliances as well, shows me that you are embracing this responsibility. So thank you once again for having me, and I very much look forward to hearing from our speakers today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Danielle, very much. We're going to start with our first session, which is entitled Achieving Internationalization of Education in an Integrated Network of European Universities, a Third Way Towards High Scalability, which will be presented by Frédéric Renoir, the coordinator of the University of Rennes EDUC Alliance, and Sujal Chouan, project manager here at EDUC. I give you the floor, Frédéric and Sujal.
Good morning. I'm glad to have this opportunity in this first session to convey our message about a third way to internationalize education. Our claim is that the EU alliances offer a very unique way to internationalize education in a highly scalable and inclusive way. And so this is what we call the third way. With our colleagues from EDUC, but also EUNUL and Eurotech, we'll share with you about our achievements and learning here. Next. but before we dig into solutions to internationalization, let's remind us why we internationalize. You see here a few reasons. 2 points. One is that in a competitive landscape, as we are in, internationalization is a must. It's well beyond nice to have. And so that's very key. The other thing is that, of course, when you look at this, there are many ways to achieve these various objectives. And the classical, let's say, Erasmus plus way is just one of them, or offers a couple of them, but there are many others. Next. So what are the usual ways? Basically, you have two families. First family is about it's either not based on cooperation or based on a low level of cooperation. So this is typically Erasmus plus K1. This is also the initiatives in terms of internationalization at home. So this is the first family, let's say. The other is relying on a much higher level of cooperation, usually at department level. So this is all the kinds of joint programs. What is noticeable here is that the number of students that we are able to reach remains rather low, actually. Next. And then there is the third way, which is actually permitted by the European University Alliances. It relies on a high level of cooperation at the institution level. So that's quite different. And the effect and what it offers in terms of opportunities to internationalize education is very different. And this is what we call internationalization of curricula. And with that, the hope is really to be able to upscale internationalization and reach a much higher number of beneficiaries. As you see, we do not set figures here, but the ambition is high. Next. So basically, what is behind the internationalization of curricula? First, the idea to be inclusive, offer accessible forms of mobilities, and with highly scalable strategies to really reach a high number of students. And of course, this combines many ways to achieve that. So virtual mobilities, but not only, also physical mobilities and blended mobilities and other forms of exposure to Europe and international experience. And what is very key in that, and we will really see that this morning, is that it relies on a strong cross-institution cooperation and instruments. So a common IT infrastructure, a common course catalog, a legal framework, and so on. Next. And so we're going to go through 3 testimonials from 3 alliances, EDUC first, and then EUNIWEL and Eurotech. And you will see that we had different approaches, but actually different ways to instantiate this same vision somehow. And so let's dig into that. So first, EDUC. Next. EDUC is the first wave alliance we started in late 2019. And in the first phase, the goal, the strong focus was really on fostering the development of internationalized courses, primarily in virtual mobility, what we call virtual mobility and virtual exchange, whether synchronous or asynchronous, It was really to foster that and to encourage teachers and enable teachers to develop as many courses that they could, and to populate an EDUC course catalog. This was fully bottom-up, with no much restriction on the kind of disciplines covered and so on. And in so doing, we have put also a strong emphasis on developing cooperation among teachers. At the end of the day, in 2022, we reached a level of more than 350 teachers cooperating across the Alliance. So which was a big achievement, because it was a way to initiate, by the way, cooperation that would later on extend to higher levels. And in so doing, we reached 5,000 students, beneficiaries of these various forms of virtual mobilities. And that was a very sound foundation for the later phases. And to cover these later phases, I will pass the floor to my esteemed colleague Sujal Chouan, who is heading the activities in education in EDUC in Rennes. So, Sujal, floor is yours.
Thank you.
Next slide.
Yes.
And next again.
Yes, so thank you for the first phase. And yeah, in our second phase of our activities, it's more aiming to strengthen this bottom-up approach, that we're continuing to increase and diversify the overall offer. But we're also broadening our scope to accept more low-hanging fruits. What this means is that we're onboarding teachers having transformed courses during COVID, for example, or outside the Alliance initiative, but that we wish to give a European visibility to within the Alliance itself. And so this can be, for example, to pursue the cooperative approach that we had in phase one, but it's also giving opportunity to teachers opening their courses alone with applications from students, and in a disciplinary approach, but giving them the opportunity to apply from different universities. And then we're also engaging in a more structural manner with program heads so as to embed internationalized courses into curricula. Either these are discipline specific or in a transdisciplinary way. And the objective behind this is to be able to generate a more long-term impact, so that the bottom-up approach that we've been having becomes more integrated and more embedded within our academic systems. And this means being able as well to manage larger volumes and streamlining our processes. And as we can see with these figures, we're actually leading in this phase two to more courses, more teachers collaborating, and strengthening our diverse offer. Notably with activities such as the summer schools, where we've created a specific EDUC label to onboard summer schools, which are not designed through our alliance, but they're local initiatives, and we can then bring these up and make them more available within our alliance itself. Next. And in order to go in this direction, EDUC's angle is to address the multitude of programs that are given today in local languages. Today, a majority of bachelor programs and many master's programs are taught in the local language within the Alliance. But we aim to offer a flexible way to integrate international bricks, educational bricks, so that students can individualize and personalize their learning, be able to stack their international experiences, and the program heads are encouraged to accept and recognize the learning experiences. And to reach this goal, we offer a three-level graduated approach. Level one is student empowerment, to let them freely choose the courses, disciplinary or multidisciplinary, recognized as elective, additional, or open educational units, little burden on program heads, no modification to the training program. And then the second level is more joint empowerment. So here we're moving into more the faculty-led approach. So here there's a notion of maybe pre-selection from the faculty or from the program head amongst the different variety of opportunities that we offer. And then the students can nevertheless choose within that offer. So it's a contained choice. And then the third level is for these courses to be fully embedded in the program framework. And so here we're sort of looping back to what we've been developing since phase one. So all the bottom-up courses, so capitalizing on them and enabling them to be fully embedded in what we're doing. As these academic systems differ, we can also say that we're deploying in a decentralized way. So not each partner has to try and implement something in the same way. However, this type of approach is a very strong lever to actually engage internal change. So to impact change management within our universities and to render internationalization broader and more mainstream. And so it's important for us as well that EDUC is not perceived as a short-term project, nor as an additional burden. The support services, the training and incentives have been reinforced, and we've agreed to a mutual principle of trust, meaning that courses developed in one university are accepted as is by all partners. And so we're trusting the local quality assurance procedures. And this drives towards facilitating automatic recognition and contributing, for example, to seamless mobility, albeit virtual in some of these cases. And our leitmotif is to save time, reduce burden for teachers and program heads, and show that internationalization isn't a top-heavy constraint. Thank you. That's our approach here. And so I'd like to pass the floor now to our dear colleague from EUNIWEL, Victor Lecam, who is project manager for the Center of Learning. Victor, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sural. So I do not need to introduce myself. You did it very well. So in this presentation, I would like to present the catalog from a very down-to-earth approach and focusing a bit more on organizational, practical, operational aspects that are, let's say, the fundamentals that have to be designed in order to then be able to integrate those European courses into existing curricula. So I will talk quickly about the strategy and approach that we've jointly designed with our 11. Oh, can you come back to the first slide, please? Yeah, I will talk about the strategy and approach first. Then I will give you some highlights of what we've concretely implemented in the pilot semester last academic year. Then I will show some key facts and figures coming from this pilot academic year, and well, the challenges and perspectives will be shared with the other two alliances, Eurotech and EDUC. Next, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you. Very quickly about the EUNIWEL Alliance. So it's an alliance coming from the second phase that was funded. Oh, sorry. Can you come back to the previous slide? Thank you. So the EUNIWEL Alliance was funded in 2020 as part of the second funding wave. Very quickly, we did not develop a joint course display, a course catalog in this first pilot phase. However, many shared offerings or educational offerings had been developed in the framework of the H2020 project, in the framework of what we call the Research Training Academy, transversal skills training for young researchers. and plenty, dozens of educational offerings had been also developed in the framework of seed funding projects, but that were offered on without a general framework or without a real course catalog with harmonized rules, etc. So when the second phase was launched at the end of 2023, that was the number one. This became the number one priority to deploy a visible joint course display that is, according to most alliances now, essential for all academic communities to get a sense of the alliance, something we can show to our faculties, and therefore as a basis to start the integration of previously developed Uniwell learning modules, training sessions, and blended intensive programs. Very quickly about the key parameters that we negotiated with our now 11 higher education partners in Uniwell, and I would like to stress to bring your attention on this point that building joint course display is always very challenging because it's all about negotiation with very different academic systems and different higher education institutions. So we managed to agree on a centralized approach. We have one catalog for all target audiences, from bachelor students to academic and administrative staff. We have, let's say, two keywords in terms of how we promote the catalog: internationalization and customization of learning paths and careers. Well, like everyone else, we focus on online courses, short-term mobilities, including blended offers, of course. We have shared courses and co-created offers. The educational offerings are obviously related to Uniwell thematic arenas. And as my colleague Sujal just explained before, we also put in place this concept of reciprocity, which is the first stone laid for our financial viability. Meaning that each institution agreed to share an equal number of offers every academic year. Next, please. Thank you. I will, on this slide, I will show very quickly what was implemented between December 2024 and June 2025. That's we had a pilot academic a pilot semester to test out all the processes that we've developed for this joint course display. So first of all, we agreed on an harmonized study guide for all offers. So a stable course syllabus containing all practical and content-based information on the course, including skills, competencies, and learning outcomes. Then that was very challenging, but we also managed to agree on a joint application management system with a tentative alliance-based academic calendar, meaning that our offers are shared on a regular basis with harmonized application and nomination periods. So we're still improving from one semester from another, and but that was quite challenging to put in place. And we have one standardized application form for all offers and target audiences. Then I won't spend too much time on the shared learning management system we've activated with the EDUC protocol, meaning that all institutions can access this learning management system with their own credentials, harmonized certificates, open badges platform being developed right now, and a quality assurance policy that's been put in place as well. Next, please. So in total, during this, a bit more than 6 month period of time, we've managed to share 58 educational offerings for all target audiences, for various target audiences, 33 online courses and 23 on-site, among which 10 BIPs. We've gathered more than 1,300 applications. Then one number that's quite interesting regarding online courses, the conversion rates. We know that it is difficult to keep students in or learners in when we are talking about optional courses. So the enrollment rates were quite promising with attendances rates 52% and completion rate after enrollment up to 43%. So quite encouraging for the future once we'll manage to integrate these joint course display better into each local educational framework, which is definitely now the #1 priority. Now we have this joint catalog that is shared, managed, understood by each of the 12 institutions of Uniwell. And very quickly, we also had quite good satisfaction rates with more than 90% satisfaction for online courses. So quite promising for the future. And now we are able to start thinking of the best possible integration of these joint course display into our local educational frameworks. And I will now give the floor to my dear colleague from the EDUC Alliance. So
shall I take it from here, Victor?
Yeah, probably. Thank you,
Sure.
Megan.
Hi, my name is Megan van der Westhuizen, and I'm from the Technical University of Eindhoven, representing EUROTEC today. I'm not sure if you're all familiar, but we are a technical university alliance with a lot of partners from the STEM field. So that's why I decided to start this session by our strong focus as the alliance was actually building the EUROTEC campus. So contradicting to what the other two alliances did, we really started with the IT things. So in our first phase, we were all focused on setting up our digital campus via EduExchange. So from the start, we've had a catalog, and we've asked our partners to open up courses that were already modified to some extent for online learners. So typically, because we started in the pandemic phase, it was kind of easy to just get a number of courses available on the catalog. And this is really where we started. In our second phase, we had fixed enrollment periods similar to what Uniwell has now. So we have enrollment periods twice a year, which is fixed for the upcoming semester. And then what we've been focusing on is to developing the core infrastructure together with SURF here in the Netherlands to start with automated enrollment. And our first pilot for this will be now in October, in a month. And here at the right of the presentation, you can really see what we're aiming to do. We have standard communication to all partners. You are able to register, and then your registration will go through a unified, what's the technical term? Everyone is registered in the same way. Your credentials is checked, and then your application is sent to the host institution, and they can approve you, and you're automatically registered. So this we will pilot now, and we are really proud of the work that's been done at the back end to get this possible. And then our last phase, which is, again, it's interesting to me to hear the others speak, because it's so clear that we've had different approaches to come to similar places, but where we focused on now is really in terms of recognition. We don't have an alliance-wide way of doing of allocating credit recognition, and also the transfer of grades is something that we hope to automate by the end of this funding period. But then exactly how they are transferred is something that we're really focused on in this next phase. And we also plan to implement a EUROTEC certification. This will be automatically sent to all students that successfully passed a course. Next slide. I wanted to share some data of our previous application period. This was for the Q3 and 4 of the previous academic year. And this is just to show a bit of what we've been up to. As you can see, it's kind of between the size of the university and our outgoing and incoming students. This is only for students, bachelor and masters. This is what our mobility looked like. Next slide. So again, this is where we've done things a bit different than other alliances from the start. In our first phase, we were quite focused on, I want to say, quantity over quality. So we were really focused on reaching our mobility target. We asked any courses to be opened up, not really fixed on thematic areas, but we just wanted to create as many as possible courses online to see how it works. Oh, there was a question. And we kind of piloted the first few years to see what students like, how does the IT software work, and that was our focus in the first phase. We were also very much focused on the concept of internationalization at home, and as Frederic mentioned at the beginning, it's a very difficult topic to really monitor, but that was for all our universities a priority during the pandemic period, and we transferred it throughout the Alliance work in the beginning. And we also built our CBL program called the Collider, which is not that scalable, but it's where we send students to our partners. We were focused on developing flexible learning paths for our students, and this is a key topic for our Alliance still now. And then during our second phase, we shifted a little bit. Based on all the data we gathered during the first phase, we decided to rather curate our course offer with more of a quality over quantity fix. So now we've learned that not any online course is engaging to student. We really learned that we need to focus on student online learners' engagement, their sense of belonging. So we've started to curate a little bit the kind of offers that we do on the Eurotech course catalog. And we've also implemented an innovation drive towards our teachers, where we've asked them to submit proposals, and we've kind of invited them to dream big with any idea that they want, and we have some funding and we help them to develop it. And from this, currently at TUE, we have 7 new courses being developed for the Eurotech course catalog, and 5 of them are with partners. So it's really a teacher needs to find their own partner at one of our their own teacher at one of our Eurotech partners, and they develop content together. So it's joint courses or a BIP that's being developed, or they are sharing a course and teaching it in a hybrid model. But this is really our innovative focus now to see what bottom-up ideas comes from teachers. And then as a result of this innovation focus, we've really had to broaden our mobility formats, whereas initially we were really focused on virtual mobility. Now implementing things like blended intensive programs is very new to most of us. So we've had to figure out how to implement this. The same with hybrid mobility. So we are focused on updating the policy in order to offer all these broadened mobility formats. And then finally, we really need to engage our teachers. So we've been focused on teacher mobility, having winter and spring schools focused on Eurotech and how we can co-develop educational offerings with our teachers. And I think that was it for me. Over to Frederic.
Yeah, thank you very much, Megan. So now, well, let's share about the perspectives, a couple of challenges that we have identified, and also the key takeaways for you, the key learnings that you may want to take back home. First, in terms of the perspectives, 2 things mainly. One is that, as you have seen from the testimonials from our 3 alliances, well, definitely we have to start with course catalog and so on, a kind of a fine-grained view of structuring these scalable mobilities at the level of the courses, and courses which are Europeanized. But then and now, we really have to think in terms of a deep integration of these courses into the university educational programs. And so we all have started that phase, and this is very important because then the internal customers change. It's more the program heads. The processes change, and also we have to be more strategic. So that's we have to have a good mix of bottom-up, keeping bottom-up approach, so that teachers are motivated to bring new courses to the European level, but also be more strategic and top-down to guide actually in the directions that are the most interesting for the alliances. So that's a first thing, and that's very impactful and very interesting as a development phase for this third way. The second thing is about, the need to structure the cooperation, and we see in our three cases that the teachers' communities of practice, for instance, are a very powerful tool that we like to develop and foster in order to encourage teachers either locally or on a European level by discipline or cross disciplines to work together and share practices and share courses and educational resources and so on. In terms of the challenges, it was already mentioned, of course, ensuring teachers' engagement is very key, and there are ways to achieve that. For sure, that's a major thing to think about, and we did many instruments to achieve that. It's not only about incentives, it's also about lowering barriers to this engagement. There are many ways and tools necessary to obtain that. And then the second challenge is really this balance I was mentioning between bottom-up and top-down, to be strategic, but also to remain open to the teachers' wills to cooperate. Next. In terms of the takeaways, two levels. One is here, it's about the operational level, let's say. What is important to implement this third way? First, really, it's to realize that it's about inter-institution cooperation. And this is what enables the third way, but it also means that we need to really work between institutions on new processes, new tools, and a joint strategy to implement that. So it's really about institutions. The second thing is that it's, of course, it's about project managers in the alliances, it's about academics, but it's also very much about the management level and the political level in our institutions. It has really to be taken by the management and the political level as a major change and transformation initiative. And that's of course very key. The other things, I guess, we already showed in our testimonials. It's very much about using every way, not only virtual mobility, but every way to expose students to the international level. It's about platforms and services. We will go through the digital infrastructure in a minute, and also how to train the teachers to enable them to go through that third way. And so it's very much about that. Next. Then to conclude on a more political and strategic level, with this third way, we like to see the alliances as something which is quite interesting that appears now. It's really the notion of having European platforms for agile cooperation. It means that thanks to this cross-institutions cooperation and platform, we're able to develop faster and more easily new educational offerings, leveraging the power of the alliance to target new needs. So we are more mobile now than we were a few years ago, thanks to this level of cooperation. And when you think at what will be expected from us with a new union of skills and so on, this is very interesting in our opinion. The second thing is that there would be an interest to identify this third way as such and make it one of the standards for cooperation in education in Europe. And so it should be recognized. And we can think of different ways to do that, such as a label or things that probably would be worth discussing on a European level. So this is as an ending word for me. Thank you for your attention. And now I leave the floor to the next. No, sorry. Oh, I was just, sorry, I missed this slide. So if you want to continue the discussion and take part in it, please note that we have a topical group in For You For All that is just about this topic, which is named Upscaling, Internationalization and Innovation in Education. So if you like to join, you can contact us. You can visit the For You For All website, and we will be very happy to have you on board. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Frédéric. But before we move on to the next session, we do have a question from the audience, and this would concern how these are funded. So how do you fund these new courses or these new course offers within the Alliance? So potentially Frédéric, Victor, or Megan, you can respond if anybody wants to go ahead.
Yeah, but, I can start. Yeah, good point, of course. If you consider that Europeanizing courses is a change management activity and transformation activity, this is part of what we can support financially within the Alliance and through incentives. Primarily, so offered to the teachers, which is quite standard in many of our member states. So incentives and also so pedagogical engineering support and project management support. And so this can be funded as a transformation action from the alliances. And then apart from that, the business model is rather as usual. There is one thing that is that has to be taken care of is a kind of principle of reciprocity to make sure that universities can consider that they invest in developing courses, provided that they will also benefit from the similar work done by other universities in the Alliance. There is this kind of balance that has to be considered.
Okay, great. Victor, he would like to chime in. So Victor?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I would like to put some light on one good practice that I think Uniwell has put in place since the very beginning. It's the seed funding schemes that are actually funded with own contributions of our institutions up to 50,000 euros per academic year. As for now, I think I don't have the exact numbers, but up to 10, 11 projects are funded every semester since 2021. So it's been a great lever to foster the design of new educational offers. Well, it's not only dedicated to educational offerings, but it's been the main lever at our disposal to create new courses, jointly designed courses. Then the issue of how to pay teachers for the teaching hours they give for the Alliance. It's a different issue that we are trying to tackle right now. but the seed funding schemes are a great opportunity to foster such co-created educational offerings.
Okay, I have another question. Thank you, Victor. I have another question. The Alliance aims at internationalization, but only institutions from European Union are part of it. How about the validation of these courses beyond EU? Frédéric or Sujal? If you would like to.
Sujal, if you want to take it.
Sorry, I was looking for my mic. Yes, for the moment, yes, obviously we're onboarding this within the alliances to try and change within our own ecosystem, let's say. Beyond the alliance itself, on a broader scale, I suppose that one angle that we're going to explore, that we're exploring, is how we can reinforce strategic partnerships that are already in place. There are already instruments in place at the European level to favor cooperation. And how can we strengthen these with respect to what we're trying to do? For example, if we're onboarding local programs and internationalizing local programs, so it's not the transformation of the whole program, we could also extend this principle to strategic partnerships that are established with other universities beyond Europe. So that's something that maybe in the future is something that we could expand on, and so rely on existing mechanisms and frameworks, and to see how we can then broaden these or adapt these slightly in order to integrate this possibility. And I suppose that the more we strengthen things locally within the alliance, that will give us a good framework and a good benchmark then to expand beyond and incorporate these other partners.
Okay, I have another question. How do you track student attendance of online courses? Do you use satisfaction survey answers, assessment? What is the threshold to deliver a certificate of attendance for these online courses? Maybe we can hear from members of the other two alliances present today, either Eurotech or UNIWEL. And I see Megan would like to respond.
Yeah, I can respond because this is something I've actively worked on this past month, but I think you're familiar that this is not an easy answer. To get students to fill up satisfaction surveys has been quite a challenge for us, so we have tried this. And so we've decided to not hand out certificates of attendance, but only completion certificates, so when they've successfully passed a course. What we are also planning to implement is to do a participation badge, but this is something that a student can allocate themselves on LinkedIn or another platform, and it's not something that's linked to accreditation of any kind, but more of a marketing thing that a student can say that they have participated in a course. Because what we also see a lot is that students take a course, but with the intention to gather some knowledge, but not necessarily the intention to actually pass the course. So we do want to provide these students with something, but indeed, a certificate of attendance is administratively really hard to implement, for us at least.
Okay, thank you, Megan. All right, I don't believe we have any more questions. Okay, Megan, I saw a hand up, but it was Megan's still up. Okay, well then, if we don't have any other questions here, we are going to move on to session 2, which is entitled Enabling Internationalization Through Meaningful Digitalization, EDUC Sustainable Virtual Campus. And this will be presented by my colleague Giovanni Fonseca from the University of Potsdam and his colleague Niels Herman Lienhera, Project Employee EDUC. Give you the floor.
Thank you, Cynthia. Welcome, everybody. I would like to start with the next slide, please. It's come. So what you can see here is all the services that compound our sustainable virtual campus. And historically speaking, we start creating our website to publish the activities of the Alliance. And as well as our colleagues from other alliances, we continue creating a common learning management system to be able to implement those possible learning scenarios in the middle of the pandemic, most of them virtual mobilities for sure. And then it came the problem or the situation to have the visibility of these learning opportunities. So we need to develop our common course catalog at that time. Nowadays, the diversity of that catalog has been grown, and there are not anymore only courses, but other types of internships over summer schools, capacity development for our staff, etc. In parallel to that, our colleagues in Page develop a platform called Open Up, which is the networking service for our researchers. And as you can see on this pink box there, we are working on creating those bridges. This is why those services that are common for everyone, for all of our partners, are called Sustainable Virtual Campus as our digital commons. But we need to work in the next months in creating those bridges between that common digital infrastructure with the local infrastructures in each partner university. So now is the question, how we could integrate that in a nice way.
Pour social robotics, là j'ai renvoyé à
Sorry, I
Centrale.
think
Et plutôt que
I
de renvoyer à
heard
Sylvain
someone
Collet, qui a
else.
déjà eu l'info par Chloé, je me dis, c'est peut-être. Ouais, il a déjà eu l'info, je pense qu'il a déjà.
Yeah, thank you for for muting yourself. What I was saying, what is the challenge? The current challenge is how to pack all those little pieces within a coherent environment for creating that feeling of having a virtual campus. And the answer that we have found is it will be available for all our members soon through the new launch of our EDUC portal. This portal is based on an open source software called Nextcloud, and we took advantage of the flexibility that Nextcloud offers and have adapted this new portal to mainly satisfy two needs that we have. A first thing is to have a common customizable entry point for all our stakeholders, interns and external users as well, to enable them to have an efficient and easy way to found all those different services that compound our virtual campus. And at the same time, the second need that we covered very well with Nextcloud is to release those collaborative tools that really will enable a more efficient and smooth digital collaboration among the different target groups that we have within the Alliance. Next, please. So there you see the dashboard of the portal. This is kind of the place where the users will be able to customize, depending on their needs, to be participating in the different activities of EDUC. They will be able to customize and to choose all those widgets, as well as the applications on the top. There will be able to choose what are the most frequently application or collaborative tools that they use, even they will find their local services when we create those bridges to the local services. So this is the space that they will get to customize their experience within the virtual campus. Next, please. A part of the reason, or one of the big reasons that we choose Nextcloud to develop the virtual campus or this portal to get the entrance to the virtual campus was mainly because Nextcloud is open source software driven by security and fostering digital sovereignty. And one of the examples is the ethical use that they foster, integrating AI in a very transparent and controlled way. So here you can see that the so-called Nextcloud Assistant is a tool that allows us to control what kind of AI as a service we want to use in the portal, taking advantage of the whole information having in the Nextcloud under our own control. So the final user decide what they will use and share with our controlled and safe AI to get advantage of this assistance in a very controlled environment. So this is part of what we are planning, and I will give you an example later on. This prevents our users to share information with these black boxes based on proprietary software as ChatGPT, Perplexity, or Gemini, for example. Next, please. Now the comment. So what is the current status of the way of encasing or promoting collaboration within our learning environment? We use Moodle, which is also an open source software. And as you can see here in this overview, there are a lot of different activities that you can include within the shaping of a learning opportunity, right? The green ones are the ones that are fostering in some way collaboration or have a communicative way of fostering collaboration within the participants. So most of the activities that we enable in our Moodle are also to foster that core value that drives our alliance, which is collaboration. At the moment, I want to present next, please, two of my favorite tools to work with Moodle. The first one is the Kanban board. This allows the participants to plan their own projects, for example, and they can share these boards within their classmates, creating little groups, or even using templates created by the teachers. This is a fantastic tool for asynchronous collaboration. The second example, next please, that I want to talk about is already an activity that has been quite long in Moodle, is a typical wiki space where the participants are able also to create common knowledge bases in general, but is also a great way to collaborate in a synchronous way. The problem or the disadvantage of these activities is that those activities are not meant to be synchronous. And nowadays, after the pandemic and so on, we need to improve that. So next, please. And that's exactly what we are trying to do. And it's a nice way of integrating those tools from Nextcloud within Moodle. So they don't have to leave the learning environment to, for example, use collaborative documents or spreadsheets or digital presentations that can be, next please, that can be prepared by the teacher and to create templates or really freestyle documents where they will see in real time who is modifying those documents without leaving the learning environment. Another great tool that we want to embed in Moodle, next please, is the communication channel tool that comes with Nextcloud. Now in Moodle 4.5, we will be able to have permanently in all the courses a chat button, a communication channel button, which, next please, will lead the participants to a communication channel which is based on Nextcloud Talk, which is kind of the way of creating chat groups or video conferencing spaces collaboratively for a group. And there, the participants will find all the different documents or even other Kanban boards or common calendars that the teacher can share with them, even other elements that the same classmate can share within the group. Everything will be visible in just one place. So, with that in mind, I will give the floor to Niels.
Thank you, Gio. So, on this new portal, we are developing our own Moodle integration. Students can choose the information they want from Moodle in this integration, so upcoming deadlines, new announcements, or notifications, and display it directly on their Nextcloud landing page. That means most important updates are visible the moment they log in. And importantly, it's not a one-size-fits-all dashboard. Students can personalize it, and one student might only want to see deadlines, another might want to see course announcements. And this kind of personal control makes digitalization meaningful instead of overwhelming. Next, please. But the beauty of Nextcloud is that we don't need to build everything from scratch. It already has a vast library of apps ready to use. The first example is Talk that you can see here. At its core is just chats and video calls, either one-to-one or in groups. But that simplicity is exactly what makes it so powerful. Many of our students and staff use different tools for communication in the day-to-day, but with Talk, they don't need to install or sign up for anything else. Communication is built into a platform everyone already has access to. The second is the calendar. Again, it looks simple, it's a calendar, but having easy access to each other's schedules means students and lecturers can quickly find times for meetings between lectures without sending endless doodles back and forth, and that alone saves a lot of time. And the third is collectives. Collectives is a collaborative tool where students and lecturers can co-create and maintain shared knowledge. Think of it as structured group notes. A project group can use it to gather resources, draft content, and document their work all in one place with version history and full search. Collectives also organizes content into spaces and pages, almost like a Wikipedia for your project or course. Every contribution is tracked, so it's transparent who added what, which is very useful when you're working in groups. Pedagogically, it also supports active learning. Instead of students just consuming material, they help create it. And importantly, collectives is sustainable because the knowledge doesn't just disappear at the end of the semester. It can be reused, it can be expanded, and built upon by the next group of students. So what makes all of this so meaningful is that it's not just about convenience inside of one university. These tools are designed to work across borders and across universities. When a student from Cagliari collaborates with a student from Potsdam, they use the same entry point, the same apps, the same structure, and that lowers the barriers for international group work and makes learning abroad or taking part in joint programs feel seamless. So for students, this means less time fighting with multiple logins and more time focusing on learning. For lecturers, it means better collaboration across countries, which translates into richer course material and new perspectives, and that's how meaningful digitalization directly improves learning outcomes. And with that, I give the floor back to Gio.
Thank you very much. One of the projects we are very proud of is the EDUC Think Lab, where we empower our students to actively shape their own virtual campus. The example I want to show you is about the development of a chatbot. Our students were able to create this chatbot based on the fact that Nextcloud is open source and it's very well documented on how we can create these functionalities on our own. And then our mentees decided to develop a chatbot to suggest them what of the learning opportunities available in our EDUC catalog will fit better their profiles. So they developed a whole architecture to create this feed-based rack based on the information from our course catalog. And that's ensured or avoid that we get possible hallucinations within the chat. Here, the large language models are only used for the interaction within the chat, just to understand in common language the questions of the user, but providing accurate information from the course catalog in this case for that. But taking advantage of the architecture that they create, that they develop, we are envisioning other use cases for this simple but very versatile architecture. For example, in the communication chat or channel that I present you integrated in Moodle, a teacher can feed that rack with all the curated pool of literature that they have and enable the participants to dialogue, accompanied dialogue, all their questions about those curated materials. So this is a great space to enable the teachers to accompany their students using AI in a meaningful way and foster that they have a more meaningful learning processes. Other possible example for other target group, why not to have a common group of researchers working in common topics to share their publications indexed by that RAG in order to facilitate their new research collaboratively in a common space, right? So this has a lot of potential, and we are working with one of those students that create the chatbot to implement it as a Nextcloud application for us now. So now I give the floor back to Niels for the last part of our contribution.
Thank you again, Gio. So what are the key takeaways from all this? They go down to two things. First, open source. It gives us digital sovereignty because everything is self-hosted. And that also means we can adapt it, integrate it, like the Moodle connection, and build an ecosystem that fits our needs. But digital sovereignty is not just political or technical concept, it has real consequences. It means we control where student data is stored, how it is used, and how the platform develops. We are not locked into the roadmap of a commercial provider, and we can build what we need when we need it, making the platform more sustainable and future-proof for the whole alliance. Second, the impact on learning. The virtual campus makes intercultural collaboration easier for students and for lecturers. And the intercultural aspect is really important. When students and lecturers from different countries collaborate, they bring different perspectives and practices. But this doesn't just make the process smoother, it enriches the learning itself. So students are exposed to new ways of thinking, and lecturers can co-create material that reflects a truly European classroom. And when lecturers can collaborate better, they create stronger learning materials for students, so everyone benefits. So in short, by using open source, we keep our digital future, and by giving students and lecturers these tools, we make collaboration across borders not just possible, but easy. Thank you so much for listening to me and Gio. Final slide, please. And you'll find our contact details in these QR codes. And of course, we're happy to take your questions.
Okay, thank you so much, Gio and Niels, for this presentation of the second session on the digital campus. We do have a certain number of questions to address before moving on. Before we consider the questions for this session, we do have a question from session 1 that that came just a second after we started session 2. So I would like to address it now. So this is going back to the alliances, the presenters in the first session. How do you count mobilities in your alliance? Do you only count the students participating from other alliance partners, or also local students in physical blended virtual educational offers? I don't know if anyone in particular would like to take this question from the first session.
I can say a word.
Thank you.
So yeah, we basically count both. We came up with a definition of mobility within the UniWell Alliance. Our partners from the University of Murcia came up with this definition, and we got it validated at the political level. It might seem a little bit funny to have to define mobility within an alliance, given that the Erasmus program has been running for so many years, but with the appearing of the concept of virtual mobility, this is probably a necessary step to understand what is, for instance, should we count the participation of a local student into a foreign course with in a virtual and multinational environment? Should we count that towards as a mobility? That's a tricky question. So in UniWell, we decided that yes, and we have a very broad definition of mobility that's basically based on any international interaction that can take place with physical or virtual mobility activities.
Okay, thank you. And I see that Sujal would like to respond as well.
Yes, thank you. Just to give our perspective on this as well. Now, we haven't necessarily defined something specific within the Alliance. However, maybe to answer the second question first, who do we count? We count everybody that, all profiles that are beneficiaries of the partner universities. So students up to PhDs, and the question of local students, yes, we do count these because this contributes as well to internationalization, sorry, at home. So we do cover the broad spectrum, and on the contrary, it's very important to do this in our view, because it's finding ways to fill gaps within local processes. So how do we consider international experience for a student that isn't physically traveling, for example? And so this leads to internal change mechanisms and patterns to try and enable all of this, especially in terms of recognition. And so this is, one of the angles, I think, which is probably key to what we're trying to develop through distance teaching, international distance teaching, to have this recognition more mainstream. And the way that we do this, or how do we do this, is through the different tools. So as Giovanni and Niels presented as well, and that we have our Moodle and EDUC model, we have different tools and instruments in place in order to monitor. And this allows us to be able to follow the different levels, those that apply, those that actually register and start following a course, and those that actually go to the end of a specific course, because obviously we have other hurdles and challenges in digital teaching, such as those getting to the end of the course, especially if it's standalone. So thank you. Hopefully that completes our answer.
Okay, great. So now we have a couple of questions. Thank you, Sujal. We have a couple of questions concerning session 2 and the digital campus. And this question will be for Gio. How do you establish an alignment of processes between the infrastructure of the Alliance and your local infrastructure? How is the data transfer handled without additional manual work to share content, and in parentheses, on courses, but also e-learning activities?
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, we don't have at this moment the final solution. Actually, we are working, and that's why in this slide, this pink box talking about these bridges between the common digital and our local infrastructures is a pending task in our pipeline. We have also joined the early adopters group of the recently launched European interoperability framework, and there are a couple of first possible architectures and solutions. But what we are working now is to map all the local administrative processes and how those processes looks like and when they need to have access to specific data, which is in our common infrastructure. Once we map all those different and probably complex processes, we will be able to find a solution for us. What we are trying to do in the meanwhile is to try to use already standards that are already there, like the European Learning Model and all the infrastructure that they provide, to don't reinvent the wheel in our process. But it's not a easy answer. It's part of the transformative process we are living by enabling these processes meaningful digitalization. It's kind of the same thing with the courses or the e-learning materials. Most of our partners have used Moodle previously, and that was part of the decision of having a common Moodle for all. And some of the materials are transferable, but Moodle is not naturally federative. So it's not that easy, but one of my favorite ways to transfer things is working with H5P, which in the future I see a huge potential of being the standardized way to create interactive learning materials. I hope that helps to answer that question.
And one last really quick question. How does one connect to the EDUC portal? Oh, I mean Moodle.
Well, there are at the moment two different services. You will be able to reach what I present as the portal, which is in the very last part of the testing phase, will be available for all EDUC members on their portal.educalliance.eu soon. What you are looking there is the old version of the portal. The new one will be released soon. And to reach our Moodle, our service is called EDUC Learning. So you can just look for learning.educalliance altogether.eu and you will reach our Moodle.
All right, thank you. So it's time to move on. Thank you, Gio, and these moments time. And so it's time to move on to our next session, the Teaching Academy, Implementing the Good Practices Staff Week. And opening the session will be Bianca Sfialto, a digital learning coordinator from the University of Pech, as well as Chris Simon, pedagogical engineer of the University of Pech as well. I give you the floor.
Thank you, Cynthia. So welcome to our presentation about implementing the Good Practices Staff Week event. In the next 15 or so minutes, we will discuss how virtual mobility and collaborations are key aspects, the key elements of the EDUC Teaching Academy, and the pedagogical foundation of this teaching academy. And of course, we are going to talk about more in terms of structure, goals, and the main takeaways of our very, very first Good Practices Staff Week. Next slide, please. So, European Digital University is one of the many European University Alliances, and it put more emphasis on the digital learning aspect of it. As you can see on the map, the European Digital University consists of 8 partner universities in 7 countries. And why is EDUC so special? Because it presents instructors and students with opportunities to engage in virtual mobility, which means to meet virtually online and complete online offers such as courses together. Thus, our main goal is to provide a context for meaningful international cooperation and collaboration for students to enroll in this kind of courses or learning opportunities, or for teachers to develop so-called courses or learning opportunities in an international context. Next, please. And I am going to give the floor to Chris.
Thank you. So in this section of the presentation, we are going to discuss about the pedagogical aspect and how we put together the EDUC Teaching Academy. We're also going to talk a bit about the Good Practices Staff Week event planning, implementation, and so on. And Bia is going to return with the main takeaways. So instructors enroll in the EDUC Alliance from various backgrounds, so they have different experiences with digital tools, virtual mobility, and so on. And in order to help the instructors reach the objectives that they have set for their own learning opportunities, the EDUC Teaching Academy was developed to address these with concrete learning opportunities that include various capacity development offers. Now, capacity development within the EDUC Teaching Academy context means that we target specific digital teaching skills. And here you can see part of the outline, and it has two main ways of how we are offering these capacity development offers. There are the online solutions. These include thematic workshops, which are 90 to 120 minute long online events that target something specific related to instructors' context, like working with specific tools, implementing them in their own context, and so on. We have something called the Global Community of Practices, which is a community building event where so-called EDUC ambassadors from each university come together and discuss problems. We try to find solutions for these and so on. Here you can see something titled How to Become a Better Educator. Now, this is an online course that we are currently working on. And the main idea here is to make this a modular course that gives instructors a good baseline to get started with developing their own virtual mobility courses and so on, connected to various key aspects that they should be familiar with. The face-to-face solutions are also present here. Even though EDUC is based on digital teaching and virtual mobility, the face-to-face solutions provide the context for a more personalized and intensive way of approaching capacity development. Within this category, we have three things. The Good Practices Staff Week that we are going to explore in more detail. These are multi-day events focused on something specific related to virtual mobility, including thematic workshops and practical development sessions. The Educational Week is where we involve other members of the EDUC team that are not instructors, but for example, EDUC staff, administrators, and so on, and help them get more familiar with this context and how they can collaborate with the instructors more. And the final one, the one that is hiding behind the download bar currently, is the Local Community of Practice sessions, which target local needs. So if, for example, one partner university has specific training materials that they can implement to help teachers in the EDUC context, that's where this would come up. Also local troubleshooting and so on. Next slide, please. So addressing the pedagogical component, we worked with Lakin et al.'s PAH Continuum, which has various aspects, and we used these three that you can see here in the Venn diagram. So we have a pedagogical component, we have a self-determined learning component, and we have an adult education component. Next slide, please. And in practice, these look the following way. So using the workshops as an example for the pedagogical component, The workshops provide context for exploring key elements of digital teaching methodology, and these can include course design aspects, course activities, collaboration options, assessment, and feedback. The main idea here is to explore how these work, how they can be used, and so on. For example, Gio mentioned the H5P materials. That's something that can be addressed in the course activities component of this, and also in the course design. Like, how do we design meaningful materials that help students progress at their own pace? How do we integrate feedback into these materials that gives students an idea of where they are, what they need to focus more on, and so on? The community of practices and the good practices staff week events are part of the adult education component, and the main focus here is on exchanging good practices and ideas and applying these. These can involve various things like course structure, pedagogical use of materials, addressing limitations of these platforms and how we can overcome them, troubleshooting issues that come up in the virtual mobility context, and so on. Of course, there's overlap between these topics because it's a larger field. And finally, for the self-determined learning component, we have the educator course. And here we have 6 just sample areas that we are developing contents for. Basically, first, familiarizing instructors with what virtual mobility is, what aspects of course planning they should pay attention to, what course activities make up the building blocks of such an endeavor, how to use assessment and feedback, how to integrate collaboration either during the session or throughout a course, and what are the toolboxes that they should be familiar with. Thank you. Next slide, please. And now we will talk a bit about the Good Practices Staff Week. So this is a multi-day face-to-face event. We have 4 days for this. And these are the 3 main aspects that we considered. So first of all, what we wanted to do is make this relevant for instructors. So we decided to integrate a healthy mix of relevant theory, methodology, and focus on the practical applications. So it's good to know how virtual mobility works and what that is, but instructors are very interested in how they can use this in practice. As our framework, we used the EDUC Edu framework, which has 6 main competence areas that define how digital teaching should go, what to keep in mind, and so on. And we wanted to use this to give instructors the chance to reflect on their own backgrounds and use it to develop and outline meaningful contents. The final one is because these are face-to-face events, beside preparing for instructors' own virtual mobility context, this is a great way to integrate professional exchange and networking opportunities. Bia is going to tell you more about this a bit later on, but for now, Fabio, please go to the next slide, please. And here we will look at the main outline of what we did during the very first Good Practices Staff Week event. In this case, we had 4 days. Each day had a morning and afternoon segment. Before the event, we asked instructors to complete a questionnaire that gave us an idea of their involvement in virtual mobility, digital teaching, the challenges they face, and so on. We started with this, reflected on it, had a discussion, and basically connected this to the EDUC Edu framework. In the afternoon session on the very first day, instructors completed the EDUC Edu self-assessment tool that diagnosed where they are currently in regards to the digital teaching skills and gave them ideas and feedback of how they can move on from one level to the next. Day 2 was about planning and using a meaningful framework for that, and we used Bloom's taxonomy applied to the digital context. During this time, instructors started to work on a selected virtual mobility topic, and they set goals for it and basically outlined what they want to do during these stages. In the afternoon, we looked at key aspects of virtual mobility courses, such as content, assessment, collaboration, and designing this course space. Day 3 was the most practical one, And here we gave instructors a set of course planners with course planner cards, which had examples, applications, and so on. And they used sticky notes to outline their own virtual mobility unit, which they then presented and used peer assessment to reflect on. And finally, day 4 was about extending this whole topic with further applications of virtual mobility with the help of guest speakers. Here we talked about, for example, how to use the COE framework in virtual mobility. And moving on to the main takeaways and what's next, Bia is going to tell you all about these.
Yes, so thank you, Christian. So what did we learn from the first Good Practices Staff Week? Well, first we asked our participants, our instructors, to complete a feedback questionnaire, from which we received many useful recommendations that we, in a way, have them as our main takeaways. And now you can see some pictures and gather some insights of our first GPSW. First of all, we needed to include meaningful learning opportunities which aligned with our participants' needs, and we needed to focus not just on theory but more on practice. And this, the next one comes into picture the practical applications, why instructors want to come to these events, and we also needed to provide them context. Finally, one of the very important factors was the networking opportunities, because as we work mainly in a virtual setting, it was very important to meet face-to-face, and the teachers and instructors were very happy about discussing their ideas for collaboration and just to find partners for such collaborations. Our main goal in the future is to further these elements to make our event more and more successful. Next, please. So you may ask, what's next? So you have heard about that we already had our very first Good Practices Staff Week back in January. It was focused on readying courses for Moodle. And the next one is due in almost 2 weeks, which will be in the middle of October. And we are going to focus on planning strategies and content development. And we will have 2 more in 2026. One is will be about content uses, and the last one will be mainly about project management and collaboration. So thank you for tuning in and for listening to our presentation. On the next slide, you can see our references, and we invited 2 participants who participated in our very first Good Practices Staff Week, and I'm going to give the floors to them.
So Maria Antonietta De Luca and Peter Pitlik, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So Peter, do you want to start?
Peter, I don't know if you are speaking, but we don't hear you. Maybe you need to activate your microphone. Okay, Maria, if you could start, maybe would that be okay?
Okay, I can start. So Yes, actually, good morning, everyone. It was a real pleasure to participate to the third GPS week in Page. And I was involved in this kind of experience that was, according to my view, an event of success because I was previous enrolled in experience through the EDUC Alliance. In particular, I was involved in the organization of the Neuroscience State of the Heart and Future Perspective course called the acronym NEPSI in the academic year 2021 and 22. I was a local committee member and a member of the faculty. And then I was able, thanks to the alliance and the collaboration that started in the previous experience, to manage and to organize an ongoing course called PsychoNet, that means psychopharmacology of neuropsychiatric diseases, focus on gender differences and role of neurodevelopment. So my attitude was to looking for new teaching methodologies in order to improve the online digital learning, but also I was interested in meet colleagues from other countries and various disciplines in order to improve also the offer that we can make as an alliance for the next course. Next, please. Next slide, please. So digital, according to my experience, which is more on in present course, there are advantages, of course, on digital teaching. There is an increased flexibility, and the teacher can structure the lesson in a digital environment that improve also the quality sometimes, and also give more flexibility to the student that can have an asynchronous access. Moreover, another advantage is to create attracting lessons. The lessons could be more dynamic and interactive. But there is, on my experience, and I hope to change my mind, of course, in the future, too limited interaction between teacher and students, and sometimes the lack of quick feedback can destroy or damage the level of relationship between the teacher and the student, and sometimes that can reduce the motivation. And for this reason, it is mandatory to design lesson very careful, and we appropriate digital tools. The next slide, please. During my experience, I was not alone. I was together with other 3 colleagues from the University of Cagliari, in particular with Professor Sabina Lai from the Civil, Environmental Engineering and Architectural Department, myself from the Department of Biological Sciences, and Donatella Petretto and Gianpietro Carrogu from the Department of Pedagogy, Psychology and Philosophy of the University of Cagliari. So it was very interesting for us talk about the ongoing and planned projects. So 2 of them are actually involved in our ongoing project, and we are also thinking about a joint PhD for the future. And also was very important for us to plan to use some of the tools that we had. We were very lucky to learn during the staff week. So to use videos with specific questions, or to work together in group with vocabulary cards. And also we had the possibility to improve our knowledge on Kaggle, Genially, and Slido, and we are planning to use these tools in our lessons. The next, please. I think. This probably was the last one. Yes, so this was the last one. So I thank you very much for your attention. And I give the floor to Petra. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so yes, I will talk very shortly about my experience in Hungary in Pécs during the staff week. The first question I speak about is why I joined the EDUC training on digital teaching, and the reason was because we have a course at our university last 5 years we worked on, and we had yes 5 years digital experience with EDUC. We did a video course with the University of Boston. The topic was language integration in Germany and Czech Republic and language acquisition of the host country, which concerns migrants and guest workers, which is the topic is more and more important today. And my wish was to meet colleagues from other countries and also to find some new ideas and inspiration for digital teaching. Maybe the next one, please. Yes, and I also think about the advantages and disadvantages. We met many, let's say, also issues and many questions during the 5 years working on digital teaching. Which was really advantageous was the flexibility of the Moodle courses, and also the possibility of diversity of formats. And also we try to support individualized learning paths of our students. But which was some like disadvantage or issues, and it's actual also as the student laxness and low self-discipline. We have to write really tens of hundreds of emails to our students to take part on the course and be active. There is a limited interaction between students, and we also have to design interaction very carefully. But this is what we learned during the 5 years, because at the beginning we worked with our own system, and now we work with EDUC Moodle, which is very comfortable, I have to say, and the new modules help with this interaction. Okay, maybe the next one. The outcomes, I already said, I learned a lot, mainly about the module H5P, but also about other modules. We joined also a new project with a colleague from Nanterre. We will work on a course, interactive course with the topic, the role of media today. And we will probably work also with the Potsdam University. So this will be a 3-university project. And we planned also some interactive tools, for example, videos with embedded questions, vocabulary cards, or group work. Yes, now it's in the process, let's say. Okay, maybe the last one. Okay, so the facet of the week. So it was a very intensive week, but rewarding. It was very great to meet colleagues from different disciplines and to learn how they do it, how maybe also to find some common topics and to find common language. And it was also a valuable opportunity for me for my professional growth, and also to learn about the new possibilities of the Moodle, which I didn't know before. And maybe now really the last one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Petra, for that last part of this presentation concerning the Good Practices Staff Week. Before we move on, we have one question concerning session 2 before we move on to the questions concerning this session. And this question is going to be for Niels. So we can go back to the digital tools. Nextcloud was mentioned as a tool to share resources and communicate. Do you use any other providers such as Teams 360 or Google Drive?
So yes, currently we have a team space to share files in between our universities. But our plan is to launch Nextcloud now this year, and when we release a stable version of Nextcloud, we are planning to move all those files over there and stop using Teams.
Thank you very much, Niels. The next question is concerning session 3, and this question will be for Chris. Will online courses from the EDUC Teaching Academy be available beyond the Alliance? Do they work as MOOCs?
Thank you, Cynthia. This is a quick answer for this. They are limited to the EDUC audience, so the instructors, EDUC staff, and so on. So they will not be available outside of it. Do they work as MOOCs? Not really. What we have in mind for this is more like self-determined learning platform where instructors choose what they want to learn more about, and so on. Cynthia, is it okay if I just continue from here because we have another question for this, which is about encouraging professors to take part in the good practices stuff week and how we do that. I think the 2 testimonials that we had, especially the conclusion for Peter's one, was a good summary for this, which is basically making it relevant for them. So giving them tools to work with that they can help, that can help them to realize their ideas, reach their learning objectives. And for us, the most rewarding aspect of this was the various aha moments where instructors realize, oh, I can do this, I can do this, and I can do this. That's so great. That's going to change my practice for the better. So something like this, encouraging them to use these tools in a meaningful manner and getting them more familiar with these tools or other ways of integrating them. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Christian. I think that's going to be all we have time for in terms of questions, unless somebody chimes up and tells me otherwise. So we are going to be moving on to our 4th session concerning policy. I would like to welcome Agnieszka Jelnicka from the European Commission's Directorate General for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture. Agnieszka, you have the floor.
Good morning to you all. I hope you hear me well. So thank you for having me here at this conference, and preparing for this presentation was quite challenging since my work involves primarily handling files that are not directly related to the European Universities Initiative, although of course they intersect within several ways. I'm sure that you all know much more about this initiative than I do, definitely about the details, the nitty-gritty. Well, unfortunately, I couldn't follow the conference, so I just hope my remarks will not be too sidetracked. Anyhow, today I will try to show briefly that the European Universities Alliances not only gain advantages from their participation in this initiative, such as access to enhanced resources, funding, and collaborative networks, but they also play a crucial role in advancing the European Union's objective. This is a very reciprocal relation, and I hope you will see after this presentation that European alliances contribute to different aspects of higher education policy and policies that are related to it. Next slide, please. So we are going to start off with some basics very briefly. It goes without saying that the European Universities Initiative is a flagship action in the higher education policy at EU level, and it was established to enhance competitiveness and attractiveness of the EU higher education sector and to promote European values. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. European Universities Alliances prominently feature in the political guidelines for 2024-29 as articulated by President Ursula von der Leyen in her speech in September last year. So she said that she wished to strengthen the collaboration between research departments, higher education and business, notably by strengthening university alliances to advance certain EU objectives. So activities undertaken by alliances as yours fit in those overarching objectives at EU level, and we are going to get back to this in the second part of this presentation. Next slide, please. As you are all aware, to gain a better understanding of the impact of the alliance, that the alliances have on the institutions and individuals, the Commission conducted a comprehensive survey, and the goal was to evaluate the specific benefits that participants experienced through their involvement in this cooperation. Next slide, please. Next slide. Well, okay. So the outcomes of this survey were following. Firstly, regarding benefits for students, the survey revealed widened educational and professional training opportunities. It also found an increase in academic mobility, and it shows that the development of key skills and competencies is better supported. Now, secondly, regarding benefits for staff, it shows expanded opportunities for pedagogical and professional training, facilitated mobility opportunities, and enhanced internationalization exposure opportunities. Finally, the survey also highlighted strengthened networks and enhanced skills relevance for the local job market. So the alliances have fostered partnerships that extend beyond academia, engaging industries and communities, which amplifies the societal impact of their educational missions. Next slide, please. Now, European universities alliances are not only shaping the future of higher education, but are also crucial players. I think that could you just turn the slides to get to the slides on the Union of Skills, our goals, please. Okay, thank you. European universities alliances are not only shaping the future of higher education, but are also crucial players in implementing the European Union strategic initiatives. So as you might know, the Commission published in March this year the communication, The Union of Skills. And the basic idea is that the European Union needs skilled people to respond to new challenges and stay competitive. However, as is the case, many workers struggle to keep up in the ever-evolving market, and businesses cannot find the right talent. So these skills and labor gaps are actually hindering European competitiveness. And to remedy this, the Commission proposed the communication, The Union of Skills, with a set of deliverables. And the three goals listed in that communication are empowering people by enhancing skills to access quality jobs and navigate transitions, enhance companies' competitiveness by helping them find the talent they need, and making skills portable across the EU, independently of how they were acquired. Next slide, please. So now, what actions is the Commission proposing to tackle skills and labor shortages in the EU? The proposed actions cover different levels and types of education and training, different groups of learners and skills levels. And these measures encourage as many people as possible to participate in the labor market. The Union of Skills focuses on 4 strands to ensure everyone can engage in lifelong learning, upskilling and reskilling. And those 4 strands are building skills for quality lives and jobs through strong educational foundation, upskilling and reskilling an agile workforce for the digital and green transition, circulating skills across the EU for competitiveness, and attracting, developing and retaining talent for Europe's future. And you might already remember that from the beginning of the presentation about the political guidelines for 2024-2029. Now, under the first strand, building skills for quality lives and jobs through strong educational foundation, there is a deliverable dedicated to entrepreneurship. Could you please go back to the previous slide, please? It is about boosting entrepreneurship and education at all levels with more dedicated modules, including cross-border ones at universities in cooperation with their ecosystems. This is supposed to help students build the skills needed for starting businesses and creating jobs. And for instance, on the ground, EDUC developed the International Entrepreneurial Mindset module, which is to contribute to the development of entrepreneurial skills among students. Well, I know that it was launched in November 2024, and it's continued. Well, an online module to address employability skills embodies the purpose of the deliverable concerning entrepreneurship skills under the Union of Skills. I would like also to mention the Eurotech involvement in STEM projects, which are very much aligned with the STEM Education Strategic Action Plan that makes part of the Union of Skills package. Next slide, please. So now we are moving to the next policy aspect that is indirectly related to the Union of Skills, and I am referring to the Council recommendation on attractive and sustainable careers in higher education, adopted by the Council in November 2024. Now, first, a quick remark. Council recommendations are documents that are adopted by the Council based on the proposal, but they are put forward by the Commission. They are addressed to Member States, and there might be some caveats in their provisions. For example, especially with regard to higher education, the respect of the principle of institutional autonomy, or, for example, if we speak about working conditions, respect of the principles of social dialogue, and also Member States' competence. Now, in the Council recommendation, the concept of academic staff is very wide. The Council recommendation addresses staffs whose major assignment is teaching or research in institutions offering programs at level 5 to 8 of the European Qualifications Framework, or ESCAD. So in other words, institutions offering offering programs from short programs within the first cycle up to doctoral programs. And the targeted staff include staff working in higher education institutions who undertake both teaching and research, and staff who do teaching only or teaching mostly. Some recommendations might cover also professional services staff, which is sometimes also called third space professionals, who have extensive high-level expertise in legal or communication fields, or are involved in transnational cooperation, developing curricula or quality assurance. Now, I know that there's one question which comes up quite often. It's a question about the two Council recommendations referring to, researchers and academic staff. So there are two Council recommendations, and one is about researchers. The second one concerns academic staff, and I will try to explain the difference. The Council recommendation on a European framework to attract and retain research, innovation, and entrepreneurial talent in Europe targets all researchers, whether at higher education, research institutes, or in the private sector. The Council recommendation on attractive and sustainable careers in higher education covers academic staff working in higher educations only. It covers a broader group of employees, not only those performing research, especially in professional higher education institutions. I would like to highlight that both recommendations are aligned and they have the same objective: to improve widely understood working conditions and the working environment. Okay, so we are already on we have the correct slide. The actions in the Council recommendation on attractive and sustainable careers. Yes, thank you. Now, actions in the Council recommendation are structured around three themes. They need to promote, recognize, and value diverse academic roles. They need to promote attractive working conditions, academic freedom, diversity, and gender equality. And they need to promote, recognize, and value deeper transnational cooperation. So the first dimension concerns promotion and recognition of diverse academic roles. And there are two aspects addressed: parity of esteem for teaching as compared to research, in staff appraisal and promotion, and continuous skills development. Accordingly, recommendations concern, for example, ensuring that HR policies recognize and reward equally diverse roles of academic staff, or developing practices to staff development, and acknowledge more teaching in staff appraisal and promotion. The second group of recommendations concern developing practices in the higher education sector to invest in continuous skills development by, for example, providing appropriate training for academic staff that teach, or by supporting teaching enhancement by creating innovative teaching and learning centers. Now we are moving on to the second dimension, which happens to be very heterogeneous, and it's about promoting attractive working conditions. So in that pillar, there are three main aspects. First aspect concerns working conditions and social security, and the aim is to create a fair and competitive, non-discriminatory working environment. The second aspect is academic freedom, and the aim is to create a safe working environment. And the third aspect concerns gender and diversity. The aim is to create an inclusive working environment. Finally, the third dimension, they need to promote, recognize, and value transnational cooperation. So there is no deepening of transnational cooperation without committed staff. This is why the recommendations under this pillar concern supporting the engagement of academic and professional services staff in deeper transnational cooperation activities by taking the development of joint educational activities into account in the academic career appraisal of academic staff. And also the recommendations concerned, for example, developing long-term flexible career perspectives and talent management measures targeting academic and professional services staff involved in transnational cooperation of higher education institutions, such as European Universities Alliances. Now, regarding staff development, the EDUC Teaching Academy has been one of the main features of the EDUC Alliance since the pilot phase, and it's a great example actually of the implementation of the Council recommendation on attractive and sustainable careers in higher education. I know that there was also a presentation by the EUNUEL, so their teacher education and well-being field is also a very good example of the implementation of this Council recommendation. Next slide, please. So now the Union of Skills mentions also expanded use of micro-credentials under one of its strands dedicated to upskilling and reskilling to ensure future oriented skills. So the basic document regarding short courses leading to micro-credentials is the Council recommendation on a European approach to micro-credentials for lifelong learning and employability. So about the recommendation, it was a joint initiative of DG Education and DG Employment adopted by the Council in June 2022. And the Council recommendation covers three sectors: higher education, vocational education training, as well as public employment services. So generally speaking, micro-credentials certify the learning outcomes of small volume learning experiences. For example, a short course or training. They offer a flexible, targeted way to help people develop the knowledge and skills they need for their personal and professional development. And micro-credentials bridge the gap between full degree programs and the demands of the workplace in the ever-evolving labor market. So consequently, they complement traditional academic and training structures. Next slide, please. And next slide, please. The Council recommendation is about the European approach, which is about providing a common definition and setting out principles. Next slide. And standard elements for development and issuance of micro-credentials that are of high quality, that are portable and recognized across countries and different sectors. So I know that the EDUC is developing short courses leading to micro-credentials, and I wish you all success in developing it further according to the principles of the Council recommendation. Yes, because the European approach is a very important step to organize this sector better, the micro-credential world better. Now, in summary, European Universities Alliances are vital in translating EU policies into practice and into effective action on the ground. And by contributing to the development of various skills, supporting academic staff thanks to such projects as the Teaching Academy and developing innovative learning solutions, the alliances actually help to achieve objectives of higher education policy at EU level. And without European alliances, without you, ideas wouldn't be brought to life, objectives wouldn't be achieved, and strategies wouldn't be implemented. So this is the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Well, I can take your questions now if there are any. If no, I think this is high time for closing remarks and a well-deserved lunch break.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Agnieszka. And I would like to, there are no questions, and I would like to thank all of the speakers who presented in the 4 sessions today. We are past time, so I just want to remind you, I want to thank you first for all attending, and I want to remind you that the webinar, the session will be hosted on the EDUC website, and from there you can obtain the contact information of all the speakers today. Thank you for your presence and have a wonderful afternoon.